If you can avoid these 5 mistakes I made on my way to becoming a multi-six-figure business owner, then you'll be well on your way to effortless client attraction, sales, and increasing that bottom line. And if you're wanting to learn more about how to use human design to attract more clients and increase your profits without the constant hustle and grind, I invite you to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos just like this one. And if you're new here, my name's Crystal Alfarero. I'm a human design expert and business mentor, and I've been in the online business space for 7 years now, in the world of entrepreneurship for 7 years now. And I've dabbled in a lot of different things, from drop shipping to creating handmade crystal jewelry on Etsy to coaching and to my current business right now, which is human design. And I've spent the last 5 years as a human design guide, as a teacher, as a business mentor to grow my business to multi-six figures. And the thing is, it didn't come right away, right? It was a journey, and there were a lot of different mistakes that slowed down my success or delayed my success, that delayed profitability, that delayed, that just kind of got in the way. And really, when I talk about mistakes, I'm not talking about like, sending out a wrong email or that type of thing. I'm specifically talking about mistakes that either led to losing money that could have been better invested in something else, right? To also, facing burnout, or also even feeling a lot of resentment in my business as well. And lastly, just from slowing down my ability to make sales, to be profitable. And so I want to share these 5 mistakes with you, so hopefully you can avoid them, right? You can become aware of them and do something different. And if you can do that, again, you're going to be well on your way to building a profitable six-figure, multi-six-figure online business as a coach, service provider, or educator. So if you're ready, let's just dive in. Mistake number 1, trusting all the gurus and the experts over yourself. So at the beginning of my business, of course, we're all trying to learn how to market, get our products or services out there. And the first way that I started was going on YouTube, going on Instagram, and learning from other people who have done that themselves. I started by immersing myself with, following other business coaches, marketing experts. And what I found is that there was so much noise. There's so many tactics, so many, people are good at selling. People are good at telling you like, this is the one thing that I did. And if you can do this, kind of like the way I started my video, but in a different way. I feel like, again, there were so many different tactics that are being presented as the solution to your problems. And at the beginning, again, I was not good at discerning what was actually good for me. I think that's something just to be cautious about, right? When you encounter a lot of this information or a lot of these recommendations, these tactics, it's no fault to them. It's not like they're, for the most part, I think most people are not trying to cheat you in any way or try to mislead you in any way. Maybe it has worked for them, but it's really important to also build that discernment for yourself so that you can decide what's going to be helpful, what's not. There were also a lot of bro marketing tactics that didn't sit very well with me. So things like triggering pain points and like really digging deep into pain points and then offering yourself as the solution. So that kind of felt very manipulative in a way. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way to approach these things, right? There's got to be a better way to position yourself as a solution that doesn't involve triggering pain points. Eventually I got there, but had I not trusted myself, had I listened to these gurus, I'd be engaging in different tactics, strategies, and things that didn't feel right for me. And therefore, if I was doing this on a day-to-day basis, you know how much energy it takes to even like mentally pump yourself up to do something that you don't want to do. And so, marketing in my business felt energetically draining. I would avoid it. Again, that just delayed my ability to grow my audience in a way that felt good for me. It got in the way, basically trusting other people's advice as opposed to really leaning into what I knew and what I felt was good for me. That delayed my ability to be able to take the action, get myself out there, connect with the right people in the right way. And it led me to burnout eventually, right? It was inevitable if I was trying to keep up in doing that. And I felt, again, very defeated. And so the lesson with all this is trust yourself to let go of any advice that you come across or any recommendations that you come across that don't serve you, that don't align with you, right? Trust your inner authority to discern what's actually going to, align with your values, what's going to align with how you do things, right? If one thing doesn't sit with you, there are so many other possibilities. So go and experiment and explore different ways of doing things, right? There is not one way or one path to success. And so trusting yourself, leading yourself, stepping in as the CEO you're able to be, and making those, maybe difficult decisions is going to be necessary. And it's going to be necessary so that you can find what does work for you and therefore take the action that you need to in a way that's going to be fun and effective for you. And honestly, it was learning about my human design, learning about my type, my strategy, and my authority to help me trust that I knew what I was doing, that I knew what was right for me, that, there are other options. There are reasons why certain tactics or certain strategies might not be as effective for me as it would be for someone else, especially if they're like, Gary Vee, that has a whole team running under him. You also want to take into consideration like who you're getting advice from. Is this someone that has the lifestyle that you want to live, that has maybe similar businesses to you as well, or similar styles of business, right? I had a 2-year-old when I was starting my business. And actually, when I first started business, I think she was just born. And I was taking advice from people that dedicated their entire lives to just building their business. They had a lot of time and capacity to do these things, implement certain strategies. And I found that they were very energy inefficient. And so learning about your strategy, your type strategy, and leaning into your authority is so key to building that self-trust that what's going to work for you, what's going to, be effective for you. And so again, I invite you to take the things that you hear with a grain of salt, right? We can learn so much from all of the information that's out there. I think it does help. It can serve as inspiration, but it doesn't have to be that final decision that we take. So trust what feels good for you and let the rest of that go. Now, mistake number 2 is something that affected my profitability, right? It's more so on the profit side as opposed to the sales, and that is outsourcing too fast. Over the years, I've lost tens of thousands of dollars to poor investments that didn't actually help my business grow. In fact, I lost money, or they were things that just kind of kept me stuck, right? I could have invested in other things, or even saved that money for things that would have been more beneficial for me and for my business as well. And again, so if anyone's not familiar with the lingo, outsourcing basically being, hiring outside help to take away work from your plate. So whether that looks like hiring a marketing expert, whether that looks like hiring someone to set up certain systems in your business, or hiring someone to manage your social media. That's basically what I mean by outsourcing. And, for me personally, I feel like I outsourced way too soon. I didn't have a good feel for my business enough to know what exactly it is that I needed. I hired people, and I hired, certain roles in my business that I didn't need. They weren't priorities. And especially if you're making less than $100,000, or if you are not consistently making over that 100,000 mark, right? It might not be the best time yet to outsource. And some of the people that I hired on early in my business that, looking back, I probably shouldn't have are, number one, I hired an online business manager. This is when I just recently passed that 6-figure mark, and I was feeling overwhelmed. There were too many things going on, moving parts. I feel like I hired this person too fast. Love this person, by the way, and it has nothing to do with them, but it was just, it became an expense that I don't think I fully utilized and that I fully got the benefit of. And I feel like it's something that I could have figured out myself if I had taken the time to, number one, understand my systems, just take a pause, right? All you need is like 1 or 2 days to just pause your business, relook at the systems that you have and where you're being inefficient, right? Auditing all the different systems, the processes that you have, and simplifying, right? I now have this decluttering process. I think I have a whole video on it, on the decluttering that I do, but I've really learned how to refine my system so that I don't feel overwhelmed and I don't need to have an online business manager to manage all the things, because I've simplified things in a way, and I've gotten better at the things that I do, that I don't need one. I felt like hiring an online business manager at that time kind of removed me from the things that I needed to be doing myself. I think I was just trying to find a way out. I think I was trying to find that quick band-aid solution to the overwhelm that I was feeling. And I'll be honest, having that online business manager there didn't help me with that. In fact, it made me feel a little bit more disconnected. It made me, I think it made my processes way more complex than they actually needed to be. And yeah, again, it really depends on you, but I feel like this was something that if I were to hire an online business manager again, it would be, being well into the multi whatever figures. When you're still new, when you've just recently made that first $100,000, I don't think it's necessary. I think you need to be comfortable with holding on to the money that you have and learn how to sustain the success that you have, refine your systems, declutter anything that is taking up a lot of time. And again, that will save you a lot of stress, a lot of overwhelm. Go through that decluttering process, make things simple as you can. Another service provider that I hired, I would say maybe 2 or 3 years into my business, was a Pinterest manager. So someone to set up a Pinterest account and kind of get my business on there, because I already had YouTube. That was like going really well. I had my email list. I'm like, okay, well, let's do another kind of SEO platform. And this idea, again, like maybe this kind of ties into that first point that I mentioned. This came as a suggestion from someone. And for me, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. It makes logical sense, right? Why not do that? Why not leverage this other way to grow my business? And so again, it became another distraction, another thing that I couldn't upkeep, because yes, I have this beautiful Pinterest account set up. If you go on it right now, there's like pretty much nothing there since I first got it up and running. And that's because, again, like it's not I have other things that are more effective for me for traffic, things like YouTube, right? This is my main platform, and even Instagram at times, right? Let's just talk about marketing strategy and your approach. If you're adding on all these different platforms and you're unable to even keep up with the ones that you have, it might not be the best time, right? Especially if they're already working for you. You know what I mean? Like I had no reason to add on another platform at that time when what I was doing was working. And so it was just kind of like a quick fix, I think. I think I was sold to, I'm going to say, try to find another way to grow my business, even though, again, it was just another distraction for me. So unless you can actually maintain something in the long run, then again, it might not be, it might not be the best thing to invest in. Like having something set up, if you can't maintain that over time, and that's not part of your investment plan, like if you don't plan on hiring this person ongoing to maintain that, and you don't have the time and the capacity to communicate and to coordinate someone doing that or yourself, then be discerning. Like just wait, it might not be the right time yet. That is something that I wish I had been a little bit more discerning on. Again, nothing to do with that with that service provider, but more so on me in terms of like just waiting for the right timing. When you get this sudden influx of money, it's like you're trying to think of that next thing that you want to do, that you want to invest in so that you can make your business grow and, continue repeating the results that you have. And so take your time, right? Get a good feel for what you actually need before you go out and invest. Another big investment mistake that I made, and again, I did this because I didn't trust my abilities. I didn't trust myself to learn how to do things. I was just trying to look for a quick fix, a quick band-aid fix to grow and expand my business. And for me, that was outsourcing my email marketing. I hired an email marketing service provider. Again, this was probably the worst investment that I had made, because at the end of everything, I didn't get half the deliverables I was promised. This is someone that I hired on a container basis. And I hired them to basically build out an evergreen funnel. That evergreen funnel never was made. They did maybe I'm going to say 2 launch sequences for me in terms of email marketing. I did have my own email sequences in place and they were working fine. But for some reason, I felt like this person can make it better. This person can, help me in some way. And yeah, because of that, basically what happened was, I spent $20,000 on this email marketing professional, and they basically ghosted me before all the deliverables were made. Every single meeting I had with them, it was always like kind of false promises, like, yes, I'm doing this, I'm working on this, X, Y, Z. It was really, there was that expectation that they were going to implement it. They were going to put it in my system, take care of it. It's a done for you service, right? But yeah, I didn't get half of the promises that were made. And that's a big business mistake that I made on my half. It's something that I learned from. And so what I would say, and like what I learned from that is, again, do not outsource right away. Wait, try your best. I would say, again, even take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. So I would recommend, and I would invite you to consider taking your time before you go out there and outsource work to other people. Before you do, number 1, see if you can simplify your own processes so things are not overwhelming for you. Number 2, see if you can learn that particular skill or that thing yourself. And number 3, don't doubt your ability to get better at certain things, right? One thing I wish I had realized when I got into online business was that no one is born or enters the space being good at these skills, but these are things that you can absolutely get better at. There's a lot of noise, and this is part of their business, and this is part of how business works. Of course, there's a lot of advice saying outsource, places in your business where you're not good at, things that you don't want to learn or that you have no time to learn, right? That's kind of the angle that they position themselves in terms of selling their service. It's true. And at the same time, I think the best person that's in a position to be hiring these people are people that have already learned these processes and that also have taken the time to maybe master their ability in these particular areas. And again, I think for me in this case, I just didn't trust my writing. I love writing. I know I'm good at it. I just had to refine how to change it for business, right? So things like copywriting, learning that thing. But yeah, sometimes when we rush and we feel like right away we're not good at something, again, it can be a money waster. It can be an expense. It can just be an expense, a leakage in your business. So try to learn something first. Again, if over time you realize, okay, this is really not for me, maybe social media is not your thing, then at least you've given yourself that chance to try, and you know that it's something that is sustainable for you. I just kind of want to bring this back to expenses and outsourcing and investing, right? You want to make sure, and this is something that I learned very, very basic. I'm an ex-accountant, right? I studied accounting and finance in university, and yeah, just business in general. And so one of the basic things that they try to teach us is, if you're going to add expenses to your business, make sure that you have the cash flow, the sales that can sustain that, or at least a plan that is going to, be able to cover those expenses going forward. And one big mistake I see a lot of service providers make is just make this huge investment, but not really have a plan of like, okay, well, what are my sales going to look like down the line so that I can sustain this particular expense? And then it ends up, taking away from all that profit, all that bottom line, because if your expenses are going to grow, ideally, if you're growing a business sustainably, you want your sales to go up with that, right? You don't want to increase your expenses right away, but not really have a plan for increasing your revenue as well. So take your time when it comes to outsourcing. I think I talked about this way too long. I should have made this a completely different video, but anyways, take your time. Don't outsource too fast. Be discerning with when it's the right time for you. Oh, and just one more thing before I wrap up the whole conversation around outsourcing. I can say though, there are certain things that, there are certain service providers that I did outsource or that I did hire on in my business and that I absolutely do not regret even earlier on. And that was number one, having a part-time VA that helped me take away a lot of the admin tasks that were on my plate, especially my one-to-one business. So I kept that VA on for a very long time. And especially when, I had a lot of, when I was just starting out my certification and I was also kind of balancing a full schedule for my one-to-ones. And so that was definitely helpful. Another very great investment I made was hiring a video editor. So I used to spend a lot of time trying to edit my videos, and then I hired my video editor that I have now. That was definitely hands down one of the best time savers for my business so that I could focus my efforts on other things that are going to move that needle forward. So again, I think just the moral of the story here is be very discerning with where you're putting your money. Don't feel like you need to throw it out the window right away. And if you're doing it, do it because you believe in it, because it's something that is going to help you, and you're not just doing it because it's going to be that like Band-Aid solution, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, the next mistake is selling things just because I thought they'd be profitable, but they weren't really things that I felt totally aligned to. If you do try to sell something just because you think it's going to be profitable, but you either A, don't hold 100% conviction in this product or this service and its ability to provide value to others, or B, you don't have the experience and the skills to meet your promise and to actually deliver what it is that you're saying you're going to deliver, it's absolutely going to show. And I say this at least for conscious business owners. So anyone that is in my realm, or, if you're finding me, I'm sure I'm speaking to you, right? You're someone that has integrity. Maybe you have a strong sense of integrity, right? And so being able to sell is going to be very difficult if you're trying to push something that you don't feel 100% in alignment with. If you don't feel that conviction in this product, service, or your ability to deliver what it is that you're promising. And doing so is just gonna feel very salesy for you, right? Because you're trying to convince yourself too, right? And you might not really understand what that value is, because you might not see that value for yourself. And therefore, being able to communicate the benefits becomes very difficult if you don't believe what the benefits are. Like I mentioned, I'm a serial entrepreneur and I've dabbled in so many different things. I did drop shipping and oh gosh, like this is embarrassing, but some of the products that I was trying to sell were things that I'm like, I've never used myself. Okay, so the first kind of embarrassing project I had, I was trying to sell baby hip seat carriers. And so this is something that I thought would be useful. It's not something that I'd ever used. It's not something that I held full conviction in. And honestly, I didn't even know what the quality was like. It's drop shipping. I had the product there, but anyways, let's just say I wasn't fully behind it. And of course, didn't even stick with it long enough for it to be profitable, because if you don't feel aligned to what it is that you're doing, what it is that you're selling, you're not going to have that same motivation and that drive to continue that, to sustain that. And so another thing that I did with drop shipping was art supplies. And again, same kind of repeated story. That did not work. I spent a lot of money on ads and building websites and trying to market, and yeah, it was just very frustrating and not worth the frustration because I didn't 100% believe in it. And I felt like, again, just dropshipping in general, I'm not hating on it completely, just not for me, right? I'm someone that needs to feel fully behind what I'm selling. I want to feel proud of what I'm selling. And that just didn't do it for me. In fact, the last dropshipping venture I had was selling jewelry, right? But I was selling jewelry that was made from the supplier. And I did get a few small sales from that. But I realized that was kind of the turning point. That's when I realized I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I am making sales. That must mean something, right? And so I was in alignment more with the jewelry. These were really cool things, but I wasn't 100% aligned with the quality of them. And I wasn't 100% aligned with the fact that I couldn't customize any of these. And so that's what prompted me to start my own custom jewelry business, right? My crystal bracelets and crystal jewelry business that I started on Etsy. And so that was actually a very, very fun, very interesting venture. I loved it. I felt so aligned to it. I felt so proud of what it is that I was creating. I like handpicked the materials, the stones, and I learned how to create. And I invested in like taking nice pictures and all of that kind of stuff. I felt so much pride behind what it was that I was doing. And so that venture, again, was profitable. It was successful and it did pretty well. And it's something that I wish I had continued doing because I was only doing that part-time. And it wasn't something that I put all my energy into because I was working full-time. But again, huge difference. I felt that huge shift selling something that was like, I'm not really sure about versus selling something that I'm totally on board with. Same thing reflected when I moved into coaching, right? I started off as a purpose coach and also business and brand mentoring. And at that time, again, I didn't hold 100% conviction in that because I lacked the competence and the experience to be able to meet my promise, right? Who was I? I mean, yes, in terms of purpose, okay, I had done my journey, but I didn't have a process of getting there. I didn't have a specific framework for helping my client get from point A to point B. I was just kind of like, I'm a purpose coach, find your purpose with me. I was very vague. I didn't have a system that would help facilitate that transformation. And so when I was selling and when I was like marketing my offer or my coaching services, I couldn't communicate it. I struggled to communicate it and I struggled to show up for it because I didn't hold that conviction. And then when I moved into business and branding, I felt a bit more confident there. Still, I think I needed more experience before I was able to help other people. And so that's why I don't think that I sold as much as I wanted to. I had a few, like very little. I had a few clients that I was working with when I was doing business and brand mentoring a long time ago. And yeah, again, it showed in the way that I was able to show up. It showed in the depth of the content that I was able to create because I didn't have the experiences and the conviction in my ability to do that for other people. And out of all the things that I've sold, from coaching, readings, courses, jewelry, baby hip seat carriers, the only things that I was never able to sell, the things that were like quote unquote failures, are things that I didn't believe in, that I wouldn't have purchased myself, things that I didn't really care about and that I didn't hold that conviction in. And so the lesson here is make sure you are selling something that you believe in, that you love, that you hold that 100% conviction in. The foundation to effortless marketing and sales is a great product or great service, and at least one that you feel great about. It would be very hard for a vegan to go and try to sell meat. So sell something that you actually use, or sell something that you would actually invest in yourself, something that you are excited about, and something that, you feel proud to sell and to share and put out there. And if you're not quite there yet, right, take that time, take your time to learn and to craft something that you feel that conviction in. Or if it's something more internal, right, take your time to build the skills, the competence, the confidence that you need to have that conviction? You know, what is it that you need to do to increase your confidence, to increase that conviction, right? Do you need to work with more people? Do you need to do more studies? Do what you need to do to feel 100% conviction in what it is that you're doing, what it is that you're selling, what it is that you're offering to your audience. Now, mistake number 4 is having very vague or confusing messaging. Like, I did not know how important messaging was when I started my business. I didn't even know what the heck messaging was. It was just kind of like a buzzword that I heard. But basically, messaging is your ability to communicate, right? Communicate what you do, what you offer, what benefits there are, right? And, messaging really is applied to all aspects of your business that you're externalizing out into the world, right? Starting from the offer, from the marketing, from the sales, right? And there's different components to that, even, in terms of being able to position yourself. And so if you have very confusing messaging, right? Again, it's gonna affect your ability to get sales. It's going to affect your ability to call in the right people that need your product or that would be good for your product, or the right people that can afford your product, right? Messaging is so key. And one mistake that I made was, using a lot of vague buzzwords that were popular in my niche, things like aligned, or again, just very vague, fluffy messaging that wasn't clear and specific. It didn't have a clear benefit. Effective messaging at the end of the day is clear, specific, straight to the point. And I, even now, like, it just, in terms of, like, there's a difference between sales business writing versus creative writing. And so if you're someone that likes creative writing, then there's kind of like that shift or that transition that needs to be made. And this clear messaging is essential for your message. I mean, for, your offer to reach the right people, for your ability to make marketing and sales so much more effective, because again, it's calling on the right people. It's maybe filtering out people that may not be qualified for what it is that you have to sell. And this is something that comes with time. It does come with really learning about who it is, the problem that you're solving, who it is that you're serving, what keeps them up at night, and being very, very specific, having like tangible, understanding tangible outcomes, very concrete outcomes of and benefits of what it is that you are providing, especially for a lot of maybe spiritual coaches and maybe service providers or healers that are offering intangible services, so things that are not concrete. For me, as a human design specialist, or as a human design expert, that was something that was very difficult for me at the beginning. Like, how do I explain the importance of energetic alignment? Or, basically, it's something that I had to learn to become good at in terms of effectively communicating to the right people and aligning what my goals are with finding the right people, having the right messaging that is going to make and facilitate that sales and marketing process and make that so much easier for me. And I remember when I was doing purpose coaching. So again, this was like kind of my first stint from transitioning from the 9-to-5 and then going full-time into coaching. My messaging was basically something along the lines of like, I help you discover how to live your dream life, or I help you discover how to design your dream life. Again, very vague. How did I do that? First of all, here's the problem. I didn't know how to communicate that in a clear, simple, and specific way because I didn't have a way to do that, to be honest. So it kind of like all intertwined. I didn't have very strong foundations. And so that's something that you notice. Over time, again, when it came to talking about the Human Design Academy, right? I really had to go in and refine my messaging and be very clear on, how I was helping someone become a very skillful human design reader, how I was helping them master the art of chart readings. So to sell successfully, to sell effortlessly, you need to be very clear on these things. Number one, who is your offer for, right? What problem does your offer solve? And how does your offer solve that problem, right? Very, very important. Not just that, and not just understanding not just saying like the features in terms of like, oh, I solve your problem because we have three weekly or one weekly coaching call each week. Really nailing down what the tangible benefits are. If you can have that very clear in your mind, conveying and communicating to the right people is gonna help selling and calling in the right clients so much easier. Now, last mistake that I'm going to talk about today, and I feel like this is something that is very, very, this was the first mistake that I had, and it's something that's very common. It's probably the most common thing, and that is having a lack of patience, right? Trying to force the process, trying to like bulldoze through. Doesn't matter if you're a manifesting generator, doesn't matter if you're a manifester. Not being patient is just going to eventually lead to, whether it's burnout, it's going to lead to exhaustion, and it's just an inefficient use of your energy. One thing I learned is that when I'm constantly in action and I'm just doing, and my head's filled with all these different things, I lack clarity, right? I don't have the same capacity to be productive, to get that clarity, to be connected to my creativity, and therefore be able to do the things that I need to do to move forward, right? To create, to market, to sell, to create copy. All of that stuff becomes so much harder. And so what I've had to learn, especially being a projector, understanding my energy type and how it works, is that I need to prioritize. First of all, knowing when enough is enough, but I need to prioritize, like knowing what my limits are and taking a break if I need to. That doesn't necessarily mean napping, it doesn't mean that I need to only work a certain amount of hours a day, but I need to be very attuned to my body, to the physical sensations that I feel when I'm tired, when I need to take a break. And another thing that I learned as well, especially when we're caught up, right? Sometimes I feel like we take on a lot of things little by little, we don't realize it, and all of a sudden we're just like in the weeds. We're overwhelmed with all the different tasks that we have. So one thing that I've had to learn to do, or one thing that I've had to realize, is that sometimes we need to take a couple steps back. Sometimes we need to slow down in order to move forward. And, sometimes even moving forward at lightning speed, you don't even realize how many blocks and how many distractions and how many things are getting in the way from you to be able to do that. And so one example is like in creating the Human Design Academy, right? I always had, in terms of our reader certification program, I always had this idea and like this vision of wanting to do it, but I didn't have the time. I was overwhelmed. I had so many things on my plate. And so I had to take a step back, right? Instead of continuing to take on all these one-to-one clients, I had to, plan for maybe taking 2 weeks of time off from serving one-to-one clients so that I could fully focus and have the space to create the lessons, to create the assets that I was going to use in that reader certification program. And so, yeah, sometimes it might look like taking a couple steps back so that you can create the space to move forward. You can create the space to gain clarity. You can create the space to connect to that creativity again, and maybe go back to the basics that you might have been disconnected from. Same thing happened with this rebrand, right? I really had to take a step back, kind of reassess where I was going. And that's when this clarity came through. That's when this rebrand happened, right? I wasn't really thinking about it. It just came because I cleared up the space for it. There were a lot of things that I had to let go to get to that point. And so just kind of going back to this, right? Be patient. You don't need to bulldoze your way forward. You don't need to like burn yourself into the ground in order to be successful, in order to have success and to be profitable. Basically, master your energy, right? Master your type. Learn about the right timing for you, right? Learn to wait for the right timing for you. If you're a projector, that might look again, like waiting for the right invitations, waiting for recognition before you go out there and, try to make a sale, right? Take your time to establish yourself maybe as an authority first before you exhaust yourself trying to market to people that don't even recognize you, right? If you're a generator as well, instead of trying to initiate all the different things that you want to do, wait for the right timing for you to do that, or wait for the, discern the right things for you to do instead of trying to do all the things in order to get there faster, and so on and so forth. Lesson here: take your time, be patient. There's also that saying, I know it's like so cliche, but sometimes we overestimate what we can achieve in a year and underestimate what we can achieve in 5. And that for me has held true. Looking back 5 years from now, I would not have believed any of what I'm doing right now is possible. It's crazy. But I mean, in a year, like every time that I try to set certain, or at least in the beginning, when I used to set certain targets for that year, it's like I would just overwhelm and put everything on my plate, like try to serve clients, market, sell, do all the things all at once instead of prioritizing, and instead of having like certain maybe focuses or certain priorities for a certain month. And then that allowed me to gain momentum in order to move forward. So again, not trying to do everything at once, be patient with your process. Now, if you're a coach, educator, or service provider that's wanting to grow your online business, I do have a free guide for you. It's the Effortless Attraction Guide, and it teaches you all about how to tap into the magic of your profile line to supercharge your client attraction efforts, make more sales, and again, create more ease and flow in your content creation process, create more clarity in your content creation process, learn how to tap into that flow state, cultivate that flow state. And again, go down in the description down below. It's super, super helpful. I've received a lot of positive feedback on it, and I think you're gonna love it. Anyways, those are the 5 big mistakes that I've made in my business. And again, if you can avoid these mistakes, you are already so much farther ahead in the game, and you'll save more money that you can use towards things that are going to be much more beneficial for you, that are actually going to help support you and grow your business, or at least create more stability in your business as well, and also open up so much more ease in the way that you operate, in the way that you create. So if you like this video and you're interested in learning more about how to use human design in your online business, then give us a like, give us a follow, and you're gonna see a lot more videos just like this one. So I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.